Okay. So far, Suraj, we have discussed about how we can create the login feature, right? How we can create the My Runner class and how we can create the step definition file. So hope everything is clear as of now, right? And what are the different option about the Cucumber, the feature files, the glue, why we use the glue options, why we use the dry run, right? The format, we generate the report using the format, then monochrome, right? So there are other few things that we need to discuss, right? So now what we need to discuss, we have the different way. We have the different way to achieve the data-driven testing. Data-driven testing using Cucumber, right? So the first option I would say is just okay. The first options we have, we can directly directly pass the values into the feature file steps, right? Directly pass. So let's we go with the first option. I will show you the first option. So in the feature file, what we will do, rather than writing this base URL, what we can do, we can just send the base URL itself. So this is a base URL, right? So I'm going to send this base URL over here itself. Just hold on, it's just got hanged. Okay, so we pass the base URL directly over here, right? Instead of going through the step definition over here and all those things, right? So now another things what we need to pass, we will take the username and password as well, right? We will take the username and password as well. So let me just take the username. Right? So what will be the username? Okay, this will be the username. So I will take the username over here. I will take the username and I will just pass it over here, right? And I will save it. Now I will take the password and I will pass it over here. So this is how we have updated our feature files, right? Previously, we are just writing down and we are passing the information in the step definition itself. But now we are just changing the information, right? So now what we will do, we will go to the test runner file and we will make try run is equal to true. Why? Because if you put the try run is equal to true, that means it will not execute the actual steps. It will just check the mapping between the feature file steps and the steps we have written over here, right? So let's run this one and we will see what is the outcome over in the JUnit test case. I will just run as a JUnit, right? Okay. Now you see it gives us the information about these things. But over here, it's giving the same information for the same things. The user enter the username and user enter the password. So what I will do, I will just make some modification because these two steps got similarity, right? So we can either we can use the same thing or what we can do, we can just modify those information. So I will say user enter username as just hold on. Okay. So this is the username, right? And user enter the password as, and I will save it. Now I will again run this particular code. So now it will give us a three snippet missing. Now you see it's giving us a three snippet missing. So where we need to update? Where we need to update this three snippet? So first I need to update this snippet over here in the user launch the browser, right? User launch this browser. So I will update over here, right? And you see the syntax. This is the default syntax we need to put whenever we pass the information directly from the feature files, right? Previously we used to remember the syntax, but now you should it is never required to remember this syntax. Whenever you make this file ready, just run as a test runner and you will get the syntax, so no need to worry. Now what is happening? Now we have the one parameter is passing over here. You see, previously we do not have the parameters, but now it says it is one parameter is passing. So now how I can write? I can just say driver dot get and argument one, right? Argument one, or you can just use the base URL. You can also use the base URL word over here. So I am passing the base URL, and from where it is taking the base URL? It is taking the base URL from here, right? From this. The same way we need to update username, right? So what is the new syntax for the username? It says then enter user the password. Okay, so I will copy this one and I will paste it over here. Why? Because I need the XPath and all those things. Rather than wasting our time on finding the XPath, I'll just say username, right? And I will copy these things. I will copy these things over here. Now I can delete. So you see over here, it says passing the username string. So in the send key, we can pass directly these things, right? So now we says the username is coming from the login.feature. Same goes with the password, right? Same goes with the password. So I will take the password one. I will enter over here, right? What I will do, I will take this particular structure. I don't need to go with the XPath and all those things, and I will delete this one. Always make sure you don't get the things duplicate in the feature in the step definition file. Now I will say password, right? And I will pass the, instead of the demo admin string, I will pass the password, right? So this is where we can match the information. So this is the first approach of the data driven testing, guys. So you see, we are passing the URL over here, we are passing the username over here, we are passing the password over here, right? So this is how. Now let's run this code, right? So how we can run this code? We can right click, run as JUnit, right? So let me run it JUnit. Okay, so it says everything is run, right? Everything is showing correctly, right? But why it is not executing the actual test case, Suraj? So can you just let me know why it is not executing the actual test case over here?
Because the dry run is true. It's just mapping
Exactly,
login.
exactly. So we need to make dry run is false, right? So this is a use of the dry run. This is a use of the dry run. So we make the dry run is equal to false, right? Now if we run this one, it will actually run the code. So JUnit, and you can see it will launch the browser and it will send the information. It will maximize the browser and each and everything. Okay, it says the steps was got failed. Okay, expected dashboard but received the administrator login. Why? Why it is happening? Because something goes wrong. Okay, I think it's timeout. It's due to internet connectivity. So let's we do one thing. Let's we run it once again. Think the username and password for the default one has got changed. That's the reason it's not allowing us to log in. right? It is clicking, but it's not allowing us login. So that's the reason it's getting failed. But overall, the test case is running as expected, right? But over here, what is happening? The password might be they have changed for this default website. So what we can do, we can use the same structure, but we can take the another application. Either we can take the LinkedIn or we can take the Facebook or something like that, right? And based on that, you can implement those information. So I'm just keeping this part as an assignment for you. Okay, so what you need to do, I will send you this code. So what you need to do, you need to update these three information, right, with any other applications which you can prefer. You can just run it by yourself. If you're using your own Facebook username and password, just keep it by yourself and just take the title of the page and just validate this information. And once you've done that one, just show me the code and I will verify the code. Okay, so this is the first way you can achieve the data driven testing. You can pass the data in the scenario file itself, right? And you can achieve the same thing. Now suppose this is for the one set of data, right? We have one username and password, one username and password. Now suppose if we have multiple username and password, second option, if we have multiple username and password, right? Then what we can do, then what we can do, then what we can do over here, right? So for that, if you remember, we gonna use the example keywords with scenario outline, right? So now the syntax will get changed, right? So this is one of the interesting interview questions about what is the difference between scenario and scenario outline. You see, I just changed the wording over here as scenario outline, right? So they will ask you in the interview what is the difference between the scenario and scenario outline, right? So you can say for the scenario we can go with the one set of data, but using the scenario outline we can use the example keyword, right? We can use the example keyword to pass multiple data. So how that will work? So I will say says this is the syntax, guys. This syntax you need to remember. So over here it is passing username, right? And over here it is passing password. We will keep the base URL as it is. No need to touch the base URL. That will be fine. But we are passing the multiple username and password. If you remember, in the data-driven testing, we have checked the scenario with the valid username and valid password, invalid username and invalid password. So these are the four scenario. You can test it over here, right? So what is the syntax? We are going to pass the syntax for the username over here. Then we need to supply the data in the example keyword. So what is the syntax? Use the pipe sign and just use the same syntax, username, then pipe sign, password, then pipe sign. Then now enter the value. So I will just first I will enter the value, the correct username we have, right? So what we can do, or let's we take the random, right? Let's we take the random. I have the template. Okay, I will pass the correct one first. Let's see if this will. I think this will not work, but this is what we have for the positive testing as of now, right? This is username and this is password. This is one set of data, right? Now another set of data we will use. So I will say password would be test123. Then I will just say username would be the admin@321, something like that. So I'm just passing the different set of data. First one is positive and all other are negative. All other are negative, right? First one is positive. And this is how we are passing the different set of data. Let's suppose if you have 10 username and password to test, you can go through like this way. So if they will ask you in the interview how you can achieve how you can pass the multiple data set in the feature files, you can say you can use this scenario outline. Okay, so these are the different set of username and password we are passing over here, right? These are the different set of username and password. And what I am going to do, just going to update this information, right? Because it is asking for the dashboard, but we are not going through that thing, so I will just keep as it is. So it will be eventually pass this test case as well. Right? Okay, so this is what we have. Right now, what will happen? Right, we have updated our information. Right, we have updated our scenario outline like this way. Now what will happen? This will change the information. Right, this will change the information. So how we can pass those information? So now what we will do, we'll just go over here and just says right click and sorry, right click and just go as JUnit test. Right? Oh, sorry. It will directly run because by mistake I have kept the dry run is equal to false. I need to set the dry run is equal to true. But let's we see what is happening. I think some issue with the internet over here. What I can do, I'm just going to close this one. This is all the website. Right? I'm just going to change the internet connection over here. Just make sure I can use my internet. Just wait for a while because due to the internet is not getting connected, it is not setting up the information. But you see over here, it's run 3 times with a different set of data and it's giving us the output, right? So this is how you can pass the using the example keyword, using the scenario outline, you can pass the multiple information over here. Okay. Hello. Yes, Suraj, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And you are able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened due to the internet connection, the test case goes failed, right? So over here it's showing us 8 failure, and you see the reports how the different set of username and password what we have passed over here, right? The for user set of username and password. So it is showing like the for set 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right, so this is how you can pass the multiple value. You need to always make sure one thing, whatever you pass over here should match over here and over here as well, right? Over here as well. If you have the mismatching over here, then it will not work. So always make sure whatever you have passed over here, the username and password should match over here in the step definition file. Then it will take the information, right? So now let's we run this again. I will right click and run this again as a JUnit test case. So you will see the system will run this same scenario 4 times and it's give us the output. So I'm just going to run it. Okay, it loads the admin page and it will send the first username and password, first set of username and password. Okay, and it will close, then it will load the another one. Okay, then it will close this information. Okay, you see this time it's login successfully with the same username and password. So the first test case will got failed. Why? Because we have changed the dashboard expected title. Now over here it will pass the wrong username and password, wrong username and wrong password, and it will be stay on the same page, right? So this is not the valid credential. It will stay on the that page and it close that information. Now the third time it will again pass the wrong invalid username and invalid password for the negative scenario. And the last one, fourth time, it is also passing the invalid username and password. Okay. Now, if you see over here, Suraj, it says the correct username and password is stopping over here, verifying the dashboard page. Why? Because initially it was not working, so that's the reason we have changed the page title to the administrator login instead of the dashboard, right? So that's the reason it is saying it is not matching, but you can consider as a pass. Then you can say the rest of the things goes successfully because it's matching with the administrator login expected title, right? So this is how the reports will look like. The overall reports will look like. You see scenario, example, different set of data, and what is happening with the different set of data, all those information, right? Then you can also assert the information based on the verifying the page, if it is this case is password fail or something like that. But this is how you can pass the multiple values in the feature files, right? The multiple values in the feature files. So we can keep as 2 as well as of now. I will save this one. So now what we have learned over here, the second, for the multiple values, we can use the examples keyword. It's examples you should count as well, using with the scenario outline. And what is the difference between the scenario outline and the scenario? In the scenario outline, you can use the multiple values to be passed in the feature files, but in the scenario, you cannot pass the multiple values. So that is the one of the options. So we have these two options to achieve the data-driven testing. Now we have the third option. Now we have the third option, which is we call the data table. How we can use the data table to deal with the data-driven testing. So third options, we can use data table with scenario, right, to achieve the data-driven testing. Right? So how you can achieve that things? So let me explain. So you can understand the syntax. You can pause the video. You can write it down the syntax, and you can just go for it. Now we are going to use the data table using the scenario. So we will not use the scenario outline because data table will work with the scenario keyword. So I will remove this one. You see, as soon as I will remove this one, it will give me the error over here as well, because example keyword is only work with the scenario outline. Okay, so we can remove this one as well. Now over here it says launch the base URL, right? It will says launch the base URL, right? And we can pass, what we can do, we can pass the base URL directly over here. Just hold on, let me first copy this base URL, and we can pass the base URL over here. You see, I'm just going to pass this base URL over here. Now what is happening, what are the, or we can just do one thing, we can keep the base URL as static. Let's don't get, we do not want to get confused over here, so we keep the base URL. We will take these two things, we will take these two things in the one line, right? And password, right? and we will enter the username and password over here. So what username password we can use? We can use this one. So we are passing the username over here and the password over here. Right? Guys, understand the syntax. Just syntax got changed, nothing else. Right? So this is how we can achieve these things. We can also add the pipe sign at the end. Right? So this is the syntax change over here. So we are passing the username and password over here using this one. Now what we can do, we will run the my runner class, right, as true, to make sure if we have some syntax change or not. So once I will right click and run it in Java code, it will give me, because we have now summarized the code. So you see it is giving us the summarized the code, right? So it says username enter, user entered the password, then we need to go with the list because we are using the data table, right? So what I will do, I will copy this one. I will copy this one. I will go to there and I will just remove these two steps, username and password, because we have combined. We have combined. Now I will remove this one, and now we need to follow the syntax, guys. You can see over here it says data table and it says argument. I will say data. Okay. In the data table it says argument. I will say data, or we can also say credentials, right? Credentials. And once I mouse over on the data table, it says import from the Cucumber API. I will import from the Cucumber API. Now what I will do, I will remove this code, or you can just keep as a for the reference, right? It's a mapping. It's the hash map. You can see the hash map. You know the hash map collection in the Java, right? So you can take the reference from that. The hash map collection in the Java, which is the combination of the key and value. So you can see the key and value collection over here. So now we need to write the same thing using the list. So what we get, we got the list, right? We got the list of list. How can define? You can write like this way. And what you can use, string. So I will say string, right? List of list will be the string. Then I will just say data is equal to what we have. We have credential dot row dot row, credential dot, sorry, okay, dot row, right? So what we can do, we can just import. What is the problem over here? List of list, we have the list of list, string of data. Let me just change it again, right? So what we have list, we have another list, then what we can pass the string, right? We can pass the string and we can say data is equal to credential. Let me first import this list, java.util. Okay, now what we have credential dot list of row, and I think data table row. I'll just go with this one. I think we need to go with, okay, row, this one, right? Or select this one. So this is how we can select the data. We pass the data, the credential information into this data particular variable, the data object, right? Now we will call the data object. So what we will do, so we need to identify the true of that particular XPath, and we need to pass those information, right? So what we can do over here, right? So we can say is the driver dot find element by dot XPath for the username, right? Then in the send key, we are going to pass the send key. What we can say is data dot get whatever is the zero index and zero column, right? Zero row and the zero column. Then the same go with the password. I will add the XPath recently, and then same go with the password, right? zero row because this is a first row. This is a first row and two column, right? So in the array, it's always start with the 0, 1 and 0, 0. So it's a zero row, zero column should be this, and zero row and first column will be this. So we can pass like this way, 0, 1, 0, right? Now let's we add the XPath. I think I have one of the VDD frameworks over here. So let's we see if we got the XPath or if we got the XPath from there for these things. Okay, we have the XPath. So I will copy this XPath. I will copy this XPath in our step definition and just paste it over here to save our time. Right? I will pass the XPath and I will paste it over here to save our time. Okay. Okay. So this is how we can pass it, right? Now we will run this code. So how we can run this code? We will go to over here. We will again make the try run true, and we will check if everything is fine or not. Okay, so it says everything is fine, the mapping is fine, right? So then what we can do? We can make it false. Sorry, and we can run it. At that time, let's change this title. Yeah, we have already changed the title to the dashboard, so it will match with the dashboard. Run as JUnit. Okay, it's passed the value and click on the button. You see, and now it is moving on the dashboard and it's passed. So it says one scenario is passed, 7 step is passed, and over here everything is passed. Right? Now we have created the HTML report as well, guys. So what you can do, you can just go to this folder, copy this index file, property, right, and open in the Chrome. Open in the Chrome to see the information. Okay, so it says pass, and this is the data table we have used, right? For the example keyword, it's also shows the same way, the way it is showing over here. In the example keyword is also showing in the same way, right? So this is how we can achieve the data-driven testing using the Cucumber. We have 3 things, right? So what are the 3 things we have? I will add this note in the video itself. So we have 3 things. First things, we can directly pass the value in the feature files, right? Then we can use the example keywords with the scenario outline, and the third option, we can use the data table with the scenario keyword, scenario option. Okay, so this is how you can pass, you can achieve the data driven testing, and this is part of the learning. Okay, so you can do one thing, you can just go through this video and do the assessment on the any other website, right? If you face any difficulty, just let me know.